Was that the best Super Bowl? I'm not going to say best. Was that one of the best Super Bowls you've ever seen? For me, it's got to be top 5, maybe top 3.
Out of all the Super Bowls I can remember, that was just being a neutral in it and not caring. I mean, that was the best game, I think. I mean, It just kind of had it all. It wasn't, super high scoring, but it was a fun back and forth game that, like I said, we have a punt off the foot, special teams playing a big factor in it, and just Mahomes being Mahomes. But yeah, it was a great Super Bowl. Me personally, I can't remember a better game than that. I don't know, maybe you.
Patriots Seahawks was really, really good. Where Brady scored twice, and then there was the interception.
The crazy comeback against
that one was
Atlanta
really good.
Was good, but this one just back and forth was fun.
It might have been the most equal game I've seen.
Yeah.
I think that might have been a good way to put it.
Yep.
It felt to me, it's weird to say this, felt to me that both teams had multiple opportunities to win the game and couldn't do it. That was the weird thing, because there really weren't a lot of miscues the entirety of the second half. Like, you had the Mahomes interception was a bad throw by Mahomes.
It was a bad throw. He was open. He missed him.
Do you think he was throwing to Kelce, or there was a guy behind? I think Valdez Scantling was behind him.
Maybe he got caught in between because he thought he was going to get hit. But I mean, Kelce broke wide open. Usually he makes those throws. I mean, bad throws happen.
When he threw that pick, I thought, man, this could go bad real quick.
As soon as I agree with that, but as soon as they forced a punt away, I was like, okay, well, that just honestly, it's even a bigger momentum swing back to the Chiefs that they came out, made adjustments at halftime, and gave the ball back to San Francisco, on the 40-yard line, and held them to 0 points. So
yeah, they started on the 44-yard line. This is what to me, this is number one, maybe not the most important thing, but it's one of the things, top 2 or 3, that cost San Francisco the game. The first 3 drives of the second half, they went 3 and out 3 straight times for a total of -2 yards. In those 3 drives, they threw the ball 8 out of 9 times. They ran the ball to McCaffrey once. That is wild to me. That was a massive, massive mistake, and I don't understand why Shanahan can't get out of his own way. He did the same shit in the Super Bowl when he was with Atlanta. Like, they're up big and they're throwing the ball all over the field. Run the ball to your best player. I mean, here's like some crazy stats for you. So if you look at McCaffrey's numbers, and I don't want to get too far into analytics here, but if you look at McCaffrey's numbers, right, they don't look that great in terms of on the ground. He averaged 3.5 yards per carry. But this is crazy. So McCaffrey, on his 21 qualifying runs, 14 of them were graded as successful. Successful means 4 yards or more on first down, half of the remaining yards on second down, and getting a first down on third down. 67% of his runs graded as successful. The reason I like that is because, if he runs the ball for 1 yard on 3rd and 1, that's a good play, but it doesn't take that into account in yards per rush.
Yeah.
So on running back carries, they, as a team, 71% success rate, and yet they threw the ball 39 times and ran it 31. I thought that was a massive mistake, and I thought it started with the second half. 9 of their first 10 plays in the second half were throws, and Purdy in that stretch incompleted 5 straight. And that was the time San Francisco had to take control of the game. Yeah, I mean, tell me if you disagree, but it felt like if the Chiefs, score before half, get the field goal, and they go down and score a touchdown right there, okay, we're right back in it. Now advantage Kansas City. When Mahomes threw that pick, not only that, the ensuing drive after the interception, they pinned him at the 1-yard line and forced a punt, and then they got him to go 3 and out again. They had 3 straight opportunities to go take a stranglehold on the game and take a 2-possession lead, and they could not do it. It's because Kyle Shanahan put the ball in Brock Purdy's hands and not Christian McCaffrey. That's what I think is a huge, huge mistake by Shanahan.
Yeah, I probably would have ran it a little bit more. I just think that, Spagnuolo all postseason, all year has been great at making adjustments. And to be honest with you, it's a Super Bowl party, so I'm drinking 1,000 beers and not really diving into it and
Did
seeing
you actually fall asleep during the game? Didn't you tell me you fell asleep on the couch?
No, that was the day before.
Oh,
that was during the
my bad.
basketball game. No, I didn't fall asleep during the Super Bowl.
Your phone died.
I was at a party, but no. No,
I wouldn't have blamed you. I mean, you probably had about 27 beers last night.
Yes, it was a lot of Miller Lights. Shout out Miller Lite. But no, it was one of those games where I don't know if they brought an extra man. I don't know if they were rolling safeties down to make them daring them to throw it, and Shanahan having faith in Purdy to be able to do that. Obviously, it looked like to me the occasion got to him. Obviously in the second half, he looked a little bit different. Credit to the Niners, they started well. If McCaffrey didn't, fumble that ball.
That was huge.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it. Probably they're up 10-0, and that's, pretty good stranglehold on the game because the Chiefs weren't doing anything early. But, I was telling everybody I was with at the Super Bowl party that I just, not betting on this stuff anymore. We're just sitting there thinking, going, man, the Chiefs are going to end up winning. They're just going to find it. It just, like you said, the Niners had so many chances to go up 2 scores or put them away. And when they didn't, you just had the feeling, oh, this is going to be the same old story. Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce are going to have one drive to go win the game, and they're going to win, they got the field goal and got it to overtime.
Yeah.
Figured they'd probably just end up scoring a touchdown there like they always do, but ended up winning the game in overtime. I agree with you. I think Shanahan threw it too much. I think even if you have an extra body down there, you got to get it to McCaffrey as many times as possible. He's the best player on the field. Credit to the Chiefs. This is what they always do. They just find a way to win games. It's not pretty. It's just, this year anyway, in past, they've been, an offensive juggernaut. This year, it's just finding a way, grinding out these games. And when it comes down to the wire, that Kelce and Mahomes are going to make the plays you need to win the game.
What's interesting to me was that the Chiefs, this narrative is so reliant on a couple of really big things going the Chiefs' way. Like the blocked extra point. Moody hadn't missed an extra point the entire year. I think he was 62 of 62 or something like that. Given credit to him hitting 2 50-plus yard field goals, including one that was the longest kick in Super Bowl history, a record that stood for 2 minutes because Harrison Butker came back and nailed one the next couple drives, but from 56 or whatever, but 57. But what was really interesting to me was the Chiefs, to me, as somebody, full disclosure, right? You knew this, but I bet on the Chiefs team total in the first half over 10.5, thinking that, they had gone over that total a lot at 13 of 15 playoff games, and I just thought Andy Reid would have a good game plan. He did not, which I'll get to in a second. But I thought coming back in the second half, they would have a shot. If they didn't go over that team total, I could have an opportunity to bet them live, so I did. And so as somebody who bet on the Chiefs, I'm watching multiple drives at the end of the game thinking, okay, it's Mahomes. He's got the ball. For example, the one right before the Niners got it in the tie game. So it was after the blocked extra point. Chiefs get the ball. I'm like, all right, they're down 3. They're going to score a touchdown. They get a 1st and goal at the 4 and don't score, right? So huge. You think, again, you think about narrative. Okay, they don't score there. The next possession, the Niners have a 3rd down and 4.5 inside the Chiefs' 30-yard line or inside the Chiefs' 40-yard line. And if the Niners convert that 1st down, the game is over because, assuming Moody makes the kick, which he did end up making, again, a little bit different pressure there when it's 0 seconds left. But if they get that 1st down, the game's over. And now the narrative is, man, the Chiefs really struggled in the red zone because they did. Into the game, right? They get down inside the 10. I know that was different because the time ran out, but they had 2 shots at the end zone, don't score because they didn't take the second shot, which I thought they should have with 6 seconds to go, multiple times. And then, it seemed to me like this could have very, very easily gone the other way. And it's why last week when we talked about it, I said, I think the Chiefs are going to win. I'm picking the Chiefs, but there's something about this game that just feels like it's going to be closer than people think. And it really was that, honestly, if they don't fumble on that punt, I don't know if the Chiefs win. I think that changed the whole game because it gave the Chiefs the lead.
They scored the next play. It was that flipped the whole game on its head. I think another thing that really just screwed the Niners is losing Greenlaw and the beginning of the second quarter is a killer for them.
That was a freak accident.
Yeah, but he's actually been suffering with some kind of an Achilles. So I guess that's what happened. I didn't know that when you had, because I was reading about it here, Achilles tendonitis, maybe that, you're much more likely to just tear your Achilles, because that's what happened. So I didn't know if it was one of those things that just hurts like a, motherfucker, or it's like something that's can really, be a career-ending injury.
Well, you remember Kevin Durant in the finals was the same thing. He was dealing with that same injury and calf issue, and then all of a sudden it just pops. Yeah. It feels like it's a progressive thing. It's going to happen.
Yeah, it's got to be. So, and obviously he's always going to try to play in the Super Bowl, so you can't fault him for that. But that's a huge blow for them next year. They're going to be without him probably the whole season.
Especially the way it happened, because it wasn't on a play. He was like, and it wasn't like it was a celebration or anything, but he's hopping around ready to go and jump on the field and just steps, and it was just the weirdest little thing. Like, and again, you can't say that this was a turf thing, right? This is grass. They're playing on natural grass. Like, this is just a freak injury. Like, he's had issues with the Achilles. It sucks. And I think that's a great point, because I think that is an underrated part of this game. Like, that is
it was huge. I mean, they have other talent on defense, but he's like their heartbeat on defense. That guy, him
and Fred Warner. That's it.
I mean, him and Fred Warner, and Greenlaw plays really, really hard. Plays with an edge, and that's when you lose somebody like that with 3 quarters to go in the Super Bowl, it certainly doesn't help. I think it really came down to Chiefs being there in the second half, knowing the situation, being more prepared. You can touch on that here in a second. You're telling me before the podcast. But I think, too, it really just came down. The game almost just came down to special teams. Like, that was a freak, obviously, incident where it bounces off his foot and the Chiefs get the ball and score. But then also when Harrison Butker made that long kick, it was a bad snap, and the ball came out extremely low. And you might want to just chalk this up as lucky, too. I don't know if you saw the replay.
Looked like he tipped it.
There's like 4 Niners that could have blocked it,
right,
and it shot in between all their hands. Like, you gotta, not to say that, it's an easy thing to do, but like, you need to be able to block that kick, and they should have. I mean, it was a bad snap, and it came out super, super low. And, I mean, that happened, the miss extra point, obviously, and then, with credit to KC there by getting their hands up and blocking it, and then the freak, the touch on the punt that's really probably cost them the game when you really look at it. I mean, who knows? Chiefs could end up winning that game, but like you said, the offense hadn't done anything, and then they just gifted him a touchdown, essentially. So,
did it surprise you the amount of miscues that happened early in the game? We had McCaffrey, who never puts the ball on the ground, fumbles on the first drive, and a drive that I really think the Niners were going to score a touchdown. They were doing whatever they wanted.
Looked like it, yeah.
Then you have Pacheco, who, in my opinion, played a horrific game, and he fumbles the ball inside the 10-yard line, cost the Chiefs at least 3, if not 7. He also, even though it wasn't a good toss by Mahomes, he dropped a pitch later in the game that cost them a drive. You had the fumble.
That was right out of halftime, yeah.
That was the first
play
drive.
Out of halftime, yeah.
Yes, and that lost 12 yards, so it went to a 2nd and 22 and essentially forced the punt. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That was right before the interception. So you had those. You had the Mahomes interception, which he hadn't thrown an interception like 4 or 5 playoff games. So, did that surprise you? Because, I thought going in, okay, maybe the Niners make some mistakes because they haven't been here, or most of them have. It was 4 years ago, and it's only a few of the core guys. But all the Chiefs, so most of them have been in this spot before, right? Did that surprise you that there was that many miscues in a game like this?
Yeah, I mean, it's just obviously, I think the pressure of the Super Bowl. The McCaffrey fumble, it was just he got hit, the ball kind of started coming loose, and then, the second man in just had a perfect shot on the ball. It takes a lot for him to fumble. That's kind of like another fluke, honestly, because it just doesn't happen, and you got Pacheco, who has put the ball on the ground before. It's not like it's his first time. So, yeah, the toss from Mahomes, though, like you said, it certainly wasn't a great toss, and that's what everybody was yelling at the Super Bowl party, but I was like, but Pacheco should have been able to catch that ball. So, anyway, and then, that put him behind the sticks, and he threw the interception. That was a surprising one to me because you just never see him really miss throws like that. I think he just stepped up, was trying to make sure that the ball got over the first defender, which it was going to because Kelce cleared him, and just sailed on him, and he ended up throwing an interception. So, but I do think he was trying to throw the ball to Kelce there because that was usually who he's trying to find. Obviously, it is scrambling. So
I thought he wasn't because I just was shocked that he could miss a throw that bad. Because if he was throwing to Kelce, that was one of the worst throws he's ever made. It was bad. It was a real bad miss. I do want to talk about the Chiefs. I just forgot I wanted to mention this. This is a crazy stat. The Niners trailed in that game for a total of 6 minutes and 6 seconds. That's wild. This is why it's more wild to me. They threw the ball 39 times and ran it 31 in a game that they trailed by only 6 minutes. That's ridiculous. This is on Shanahan, but I do want to touch on the other side too. Andy Reid, like as good as he was late, it's as bad as he was early. I mean, what was the game plan? I mean, it was horrific. The early down runs killed me. I watched them hand the ball to Pacheco on first down and get 1 or 2 yards. I think it happened 8 times, and I think 6 of the 8 times that they started with an early down running back run, they punted or, didn't get a first down on that series. And he continued to do it all night long. It was so weird. I mean, Pacheco, he had one big, I think it was a 25-yard run. If you take that out, he was horrible all night. It was really, really weird. I'll give Steve Wilks a little bit of credit. I don't think it was him. I think it was more, I think your talent comes out in a game like this. Like Chase Young had been getting a lot of heat for loafing for the last couple games, and he comes out and makes a big impact, gets a sack early on, has a couple quarterback hurries, tackle for loss. So I think their talent came out in this one, but it did really surprise me that you watched the Lions just torch this defense a couple weeks ago. And the Chiefs with Mahomes, and I know they don't have the weapons that the Lions have, but, it shocked me that they couldn't do anything. They really looked like they couldn't do shit. And Andy Reid is at fault for that. He did not coach a good game until the second half.
I think what happens is, so I always say, and it's the same thing with Nick Saban. I think that the coaches, even though they can't change a ton at halftime, the thing that makes you a great coach is obviously you want to have your team prepared to play, but being able to make whatever that small adjustment is at halftime that him and Spagnuolo have done all postseason, obviously Spags' defense and Andy's offense, but to me, the game plan made sense because if you look at the 2 games the Niners played before, they got absolutely just run all over by the Packers and the Lions.
Yep.
I mean, Aaron Jones, I'm looking at it here, 18 carries, 108 yards. Then Montgomery had 96 yards, I think, and Gibbs even had another 60 or 70.
Oh, they ran all over.
So seeing that, and you have to be like, look, we're going to come out and try to establish the run early, and even if it's not working, you have to stick to the script somewhat. I agree with you. He probably did it a little bit too much, made some adjustments at halftime. But once again, and we talked about how bad the Niners defense looked. Like you said, this is the Super Bowl, and they're fucking loaded talent-wise.
Right.
They're the best defense in the league talent-wise.
This is why you go get those guys.
Yeah. So that's the deal, and it's they showed up. All the credit to them. They played a pretty good game. They just, the offense couldn't make enough plays, and you had the fluke fumble on the punt and whatever. That was a game that could have gone either way. We talked about it. I expected it to be a close game. I said, if it's going to be a close game, you just got to go with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and Travis Kelce who have done it. You don't go with Brock Purdy. So
no, you're right.
I don't think Brock Purdy had a horrific game. He was okay in my mind. Sure, the pressure got to him in the second half. You could tell it. But I just think that Shanahan put too much pressure on him. He should have handed the ball off more, like you stated. And dink and dump it to McCaffrey. Screens, whatever it may be. Just get the ball in his fucking hands. He's your best player, and then Debo gets hurt.
That hurt.
So he came back, whatever, for a bit, I think, whatever, with the hamstring. But clearly he wasn't the same. He was a decoy. You just have got to get the ball to McCaffrey. To me, they put too much on the shoulders of Brock Purdy. I think he's a fine player, whatever. But, get the ball to McCaffrey. And you made that point earlier. But, yeah, this is a game that could have gone either way. I would say the special teams and just the Mahomes factor was the difference. And I like the adjustments that Spagnuolo and Reid made at halftime. They controlled, not to say that anybody really, like you said, took the game when there was opportunities to take it, but they seemed like to be in more control. Like I said, just being a neutral party, as soon as we talked about it, why not take another shot with 6 seconds? And I told you before the podcast, probably because Andy Reid just knew, look, I don't want anything horrific to happen here. 6 seconds, if Pat takes off, for a second or two more than he should and throw it and time expires, he shouldn't do that, obviously, but he knows in overtime, look, I get a possession. We have all the momentum. I got the better quarterback here. We'll go to overtime and take our chances there.
I get it.
I would have thrown one. I would have trusted him because he's been in the situation before and be like, hey, look, this is what we're running. If it's not there, just throw it out of the back of the end zone or throw it at his feet and kick a field goal. But he's not wide open.
And because they had a timeout, so if disaster strikes and it was a quick sack or something, then you could still call timeout. I guess the idea is if somebody were to get beat real quick, off the edge and it's a fumble and the ball's loose, you just.
And another thing that goes into it too, which my buddy made a good point. The snaps from that center had not been great.
Horrible.
So that I also think definitely went into it. Andy Reid's if he just snaps this thing wide right and something happens, then we'll just go into overtime. But
that was weird that he had
even on that drive he had a couple bad snaps.
There was one, I don't know if it was on that drive or if it was the drive before, but there was one late in the game that was low in a big moment, and it was Mahomes snagged it somehow, and it was at his feet. There was one earlier in the game that Mahomes had to pick up because it was super low. It was a fumble. There was a lot of that guy had a weird, bad game. I want to bring up one point on the game too. So I think this is a really interesting debate. Shanahan, and I give him a lot of credit for this that he did. In the second half, it was the fourth quarter, and the Chiefs clearly had all the momentum. They had taken the lead by 3 after the fumble on the punt, right? The Niners are driving, and they run it on 4th and 2.5, 3. McCaffrey loses half a yard or a yard, and it ends up being they said it was a 4th and 3. I think it might have been closer to a 4th and 4. And we've talked about this for as progressive and people see him as this young, innovative guy who uses analytics. For a guy like that, Shanahan is actually uber conservative. He always kicks the field goal there, and he didn't. And to his credit, that was the right move. If you kick the field goal there and give Mahomes the ball back and tie a game, good luck. So I thought that was really, really smart by him to go for that, and they threw a little out to George Kittle, and George Kittle, who didn't do anything all night, did make a humongous play there because he was very close to getting tackled short, and he got the first down by just beating his defender to the outside. Now, they ended up scoring a touchdown there, and that's why the Niners had essentially a leg up, I think, to win the game.
That's where the extra point got blocked, right?
Yes, exactly. So here's my question then, because I watched Shanahan after the game talk about this in the post-game conference. In overtime, he's essentially in the exact same scenario. It's a tie game now. Before, you were down 3. So I get it, right? Momentum was a big factor in that. Here, you're in a neutral game state, and you can't get no points. I understand that. But you were aggressive in the previous moment. It worked. And I just think about, okay, number one, what does the defense not want us to do here? In my opinion, it's go for it. I don't want to we just got to stop. We held him to a field goal. We know we have Mahomes. Mahomes, I'm thinking 90% chance he's got a field goal, 70% chance he's going to score a touchdown here. If we hold him to a field goal, that's a massive win for the defense. So to me, in that moment, I get it. If you don't get it there, right, everybody criticizes you and you lose, but it's the same thing to me. If you don't get the other first down, you probably lose the game. You're down 3 in the fourth quarter, and you give Mahomes the ball back in a game where they're finally starting to get some offense and move the ball. They just scored, given it was on the fumble. But I will say, my dad said, we were watching the game together, Big Dog said, I said, are they going for this? Because for a second, the offense stayed on the field. And he was like, they should go for it. And I was like, no, they shouldn't. And I said, no, they shouldn't, because I wanted Mahomes to get the ball back down by 3, have a shot. I didn't want him to score a touchdown. And then I'm like, now we got to score a touchdown just to tie it here. I would have gone for it. Just looking at the way that game had gone, my defense was not getting stops late. They were tired, and I'd rather put it on my offense that I run, and we've had success all game. I know the Chiefs are a good defense, and early in the second half, they did a great job, but they burnt out at the end. That was apparent. Like, literally, the only reason that the Chiefs were able to get stops is because on the two biggest plays of the game, the 3rd and 4 in the fourth quarter on the final drive for the Niners, and the 3rd and 4 in overtime inside the 10-yard line, both of them, what did the Chiefs do? They were burnt out, so they sent 6 guys, and they got there, and the first one, they tipped the ball. The second one, they forced Brock Purdy to basically throw it away. And so it just, your offense had been the better unit all game in the second half from like the third quarter, mid-third quarter on after those first 3 drives. I'm going for that. I get it. He gets reamed if they go and don't get it.
I think I'm usually an advocate for the go for it. I think in regulation, I definitely would have gone for it there. My guy, Dan Campbell, would have definitely gone for it.
Big ball
there.
Dan.
But in overtime, with it being, what was the yardage on it?
It was 4. Basically the same. It was maybe a half yard more.
I kick it in OT, and the only reason I say that is because I get that the defense is worn down and stuff, but the thing that factors in for me is if you kick it, then when they get down there, in the 40 or the score zone, the Chiefs, they only have 3 downs, and then they have to kick a field goal. If not, they have 4 downs and you have 4 downs. That's the benefit, in my opinion. That's the benefit of. And we've talked about theoretically, if you need it, you have the extra down.
Let's talk about that too in a second.
Yeah. And we talked about you actually take the ball first in overtime. Do you take it second? But to me, I probably would have kicked it there just because the factor of the extra down, and if they get put in a situation where it's like 3rd and 10 or something, like obviously they're going to try to get the first down, but things come into it where they're obviously not playing for a field goal. But in the back of your mind, when you're Andy Reid, hey, a field goal is an option here, and we can keep playing. I don't know. I can see both sides of it. If it's 4th and 2, dude, I go for it because they have to honor the run or the pass. When it's 4th and 4, they know Brock Purdy's going to throw the ball, and I don't think I'm putting the game in his hands here. I get in regulation they did it, but with it being a 3-point game, there was still like 7 minutes left in the game, right? At that point, you can still definitely get the ball back and have another shot. Overtime, if you don't get it, the game's fucking over.
I get that. 2 big mistakes I do think as well is I thought in regulation on the 3rd and 4 when they were basically, it was a situation where you're tied and a first down ends it, right? I know this is wild, but I would have run the ball on 3rd and 4. I would have run like a draw to McCaffrey, at the very least a screen. What has Spagnuolo done in every big moment? He blitzes. It's what he does. He's notorious for it, and they were showing it. I mean, they did a good job of disguising where it was coming from, and Purdy did a terrible job of reading the blitz, and that's what cost them the game because those 2 plays, the blitz got there because he didn't know where it was coming from. Nobody pointed it out. They had a free rusher. But to me, dude, obviously a screen pass would have been ideal, especially that second one because the blitz is coming.
Did they run any screens the whole game? I'm trying to look back and remember when they ran a screen pass.
They ran a few wide receiver screens, but that was it. Dude, really weird. I'm shocked they didn't. That's a great point. The fact that they didn't run any running back screens to McCaffrey is really weird. The only one that was technically a screen was the touchdown, but that was like a trick play, right? Like the wide receiver pass to Jennings was technically a screen pass back the other way. But yeah, dude, if I'm the Niners there, even let's say I don't throw a screen pass, I'm running the ball and just giving myself a chance on 4th down to go for it. Like that's got to be my mindset there.
You could get it on the run.
Yeah. Get on the run with McCaffrey.
I mean, I certainly don't hate that decision. Andy Reid was driving me crazy a lot of the time with the runs. I agree with you in certain situations, and obviously we're kind of talking about Shanahan there, but like to me, when you get down like inside the 20, and he did this several times, he would run it on 2nd and 7 to get it to like 3rd and 4.
So stupid.
And it's already like you're already in the red zone. So I'm like, I don't know what good that does to you unless you think you're going to pick up the first down there. Like it doesn't do you a whole lot of good to get 3 or 4 yards. But That's one of those things I can't stand. I get doing that on certain parts of the field, but like once you get into the red zone, 2nd and 7, to me, I'm just like 90% of the time you're not going to hand that off and get it right. It might turn into I don't know, but I'm with you on the 3rd and 4. You can get it the first down, you can get it the 4th and 1, and then you have options. But
well, let's. I want to touch too. I know. Look, this is the last football game of the year, so we're gonna milk this for all it's worth right here, right? So we're gonna get every ounce of football out of this Super Bowl game before we bring Big Dog in and talk a little college basketball. But I want to talk about the overtime, the decision. We talked about this off air before we came on a little bit, and we were kind of discussing what the strategy is. It's funny because it just, to me, I hate how everybody just looks at the result. And it's like, oh, of course you should have kicked the ball there. Why would you ever receive? I was completely the opposite thinking. I have to believe, and I could be wrong, I have to believe the analytics say you take the ball, knowing that if you both score 0, if you both score a field goal, if you both score a touchdown, there's all those different scenarios that could play out where you get the ball and you win with any score.
Which is like, I mean, you would assume the odds on, like, if you both match, right, your odds of winning the game have got to be over 70%.
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't think there's any scenario where if you take it second, like, it improves your odds that much, right?
No,
like, it may give you an extra down or whatever, or you can go, but the counter argument to it is if we score a touchdown and the Chiefs go down and score a touchdown, the Chiefs are going for 2 100% of the time.
Do you think they for sure are?
I think you have to, because there's no way to justify not doing it. Because if it's a 50-something% chance, right, you get the 2, right? And I get it's one play for the Super Bowl. But if you kick it deep, like, we could look up the old overtime rules where it's like, hey, what are when you got the ball first in old NFL sudden death football, when all you needed was a field goal to win, what percentage does that team win? It's probably well over 60%, right? So,
if you're talking about the old one, it's probably more
70,
than that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
With just a field goal, yes.
But that's what I'm saying. So that's what your alternative is. If you make the extra point, those become your odds now.
I agree with you.
Even if you make the extra point, which is 95%, obviously. So the whole deal is, the counter argument to getting the ball first was like, well, the Chiefs go down and score a touchdown, they're going to go for fucking 2 anyway. But I still agree with you. I still think you do take the ball first because you can match the field goals.
Match the field goals or match the 0, right?
Yes,
punt.
That's an outcome that is likely and could absolutely happen. R0-0.
Right, and even if you, like, let's say the Niners go down and score there. Now, from the Niners' perspective, like, you're expecting to score a touchdown, right? So if I go score a touchdown on that first drive, now we essentially have a chance, okay, if they don't score, we win. And even if they do score, we still have a 50% chance, a little bit less, of getting a stop and winning the Super Bowl if they go for 2. If they don't go for 2, we're going to get it back, and all we need is a field goal. There's just so many outcomes where you still win the game.
Yeah, I think the math definitely probably, and this is new to everybody, right? That's why everybody's like going, well, no, I don't know. I think you take it second because you get the extra down. But I think if you run the simulation on this, the math backs taking the ball first every 100% single time.
You're taking the ball first, because you also think about the fact of this. Let's say you take the ball second, right? Let's say you're the 49ers, you take the ball second. Mahomes goes down and scores a touchdown. Now, not only do you have to score, but you have to get the 2. Because like you said, like, when you're thinking about it from that perspective, I don't just have to score. I have to score and get the 2. So what are the odds that I score a touchdown and get a 2-point conversion, which is got to be relatively low? Like, I would say the odds that you're driving 75 yards, scoring a touchdown in a game like this, and getting a 2-point conversion have to be below 25%. I mean, I understand.
No, it is.
Yeah, and especially with the Niners being Purdy and having Purdy as your quarterback. I just think, to me, it's just the irritating thing to me is everybody acting like, oh, yeah, of course they should have done this. Not to mention, and Shanahan, I listened to him in the press conference after the game, and he did say this wasn't a factor, but this was just a bonus. His defense had been out there a ton in the second half. They were just on the field for the final drive where it was a fast pace. They're gassed. Yeah. And so he goes, we predetermined. I'm like, he's not dumb. We predetermined we were taking the ball. He's like, it wasn't a decision. Like, we knew we were taking the ball. Now, I will say I want to make one point. I told you this before we came on. This is crazy to me. I was listening to a lot of players after the game. Mahomes said this. Kelce said it. Mahomes really emphasized this. He was like, every fucking meeting we were in, like in the whole playoffs and even in the end of the regular season, I was like so tired of hearing it, but they kept telling us, here are the overtime rules. Here are the overtime rules. If they get the ball, you each get a chance to match. It's like a regular game. It's like you're playing a first quarter. So they knew exactly the rules. They were very, very prepared. I don't know, knowing the rules, how much it had a bearing on the outcome. But at the end of the game, when the clock's running down, they then asked the Niners in their press conference. And they said, we didn't know. And somebody said, did the coaches, prepare you for that? They said, I had no idea. We didn't know. So the Niners coaches had no idea, or they didn't tell the players, here's the rules of overtime if we get there. Like, that should be a point of emphasis as somebody who's a coach who, again, I coach at the high school basketball level. I'm not an NFL coach by any means. But I'll tell you what, as a JV high school basketball coach, we sure prepared for a lot of scenarios. We'd practice like down by 2 shooting 1 free throw with 2 seconds to go, miss the free throw. Down by 4 with 10 seconds to go, not having a timeout left, scoring and taking an intentional delay of game. We'd practice this crazy shit. I was a JV basketball coach. You're an NFL head coach, and you have all this time with your guys. That has got to be a point of emphasis.
Yeah, no,
that's crazy.
That just shows you that the Chiefs are better coach, and that's championship pedigree. You go over every little situation that, and they're just prepared for everything. So I guarantee you, them knowing the rules and having no panic, obviously on that last drive, and then the Niners, I guarantee you half the Niners defense, I guarantee you, half the Niners defense saw if the clock expired, they won the game. I promise.
Yeah, they did. They definitely did.
They definitely did. If they didn't know that before the game, and it was like, go out there and get a stop, and they're like looking at the clock like, man, we're about to win this bitch.
By the way, would that not have been the funniest ending to a Super Bowl ever?
They start celebrating.
What if the rule was that the clock just expires, the game's over,
and no one knew?
The Niners win the game.
Or Andy Reid had been telling the boys wrong all week. It's like, what do you mean? No, that's it. You got to score before the clock expires.
That would have been actually the funniest into a Super Bowl ever.
Yeah, now that's just, but being, better prepared, and that's what the Chiefs were clearly. I mean, if they're going over things like that and the Niners have no idea, that's just preparation, and that's why they're so damn hard to beat in the playoffs and Super Bowl. So
real quick before we I want to keep going on a few more things I got to ask you on the Super Bowl, and I want to touch. But since we dove into this, I don't know if you have a dumbass of the week, but we did this segment last time. If you don't, I have 3, so I got you covered.
You go. You give me the dumbasses of the week.
So I got the dumbasses of the week. So I'm gonna go like lowest to highest. So
okay.
Number 1 is Marquez Valdez-Scantling in overtime on 1st and 10. They threw him the ball. Did you see this? You remember this? It was a 1st and 10. They threw him the ball. It was a 5-yard gain, and he got thrown backwards instead of falling down.
Oh, yeah.
And then when he regained his balance, it would have still been only a no gain, and the motherfucker ran backwards 4 yards and lost. I mean, that could have cost him the game. I believe on that sequence, is that the one that ended up being a 4th down? I can't remember if they got the 1st down before 4th down on that one, or if that was after it.
No, I think that was that play,
and
then
series?
Mahomes took off on because they had that 4th and 1 in OT. It was an OT, yeah.
They
had to get it. It was like here's the game, and Mahomes took off and got the 1st down.
Which, by the way, on that play, and I'm gonna get back to my dumbasses of the week, but on that play, I watched that again. Joey Bosa, and I'm sure this was his responsibility, but he crashes because Mahomes hasn't pulled that all year. I get it.
Yeah.
But if he just has an instinct right there to not crash, they win the Super Bowl right there, right then. Because he was, I know. He's never pulling that.
You gotta sell out and hope you stop him. I get it. Yeah,
they run up the middle on every short yardage situation there, but it's just like Romo said it in the game. Like, is there any thought at any time with the Super Bowl on the line to not put the ball in Mahomes' hands? Like, you're gonna give it to Pacheco there? Really? You think they're gonna take it out of his hands? If you're just Bosa and you think that in your mind and you stay there, you win, because Kelce wasn't really open. That's what Alabama should have run on the goal line against Michigan. A little fake inside run and roll Milroe out, and it, like that.
That's what they said was originally called. The same was like, called timeout, was thought we were play.
Yeah.
So he ran it right up the gut.
Yeah, so dumb.
He's like, I love how he threw Tommy Reese on their butts. He's like, Tommy thought that was
Tommy
the best
thought
call.
it was the best call.
Tommy.
He just loved, let's anybody but my fault.
Yeah.
Okay, my dumbass number 2, and I want to talk about this after I finish these. let's just talk about it here. My dumbass number 2 of the week goes to Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, I mean, goes over and loses his absolute mind on Andy Reid. I mean, Andy has a new hip. That's borderline elder abuse.
That's assault.
That is elder abuse. That is help.
Funny.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Andy's got a new hip.
Andy does have a new hip, and Andy was joking about it after the game. But look, to me, that was ridiculous. And there was a lot of people. There was actually really funny, and I'm not trying to get into a racial aspect here, but there was a lot of black NFL players that were tweeting after that, like, if I did that, I'd be out of the league. And it's actually like, I disagree. I think the truth of the matter is, if that's anybody but Mahomes or Kelce, they probably don't play the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Maybe Chris Jones could get away with it too. But Kelce is like his son. That's the kind of relationship they have. That said, the physical part of it is what bothered me. I mean, just Tom Brady even tweeted about it. Like, you just can't. No matter how emotional the game is, you just cannot do that. And like
that was pretty bad when I saw it.
Getting into it with your coach
I gasped for air. I was like, oh my God, he hip checked Andy. Thank God he's all right.
I mean, and Andy wasn't paying attention either, so it like really caught him by surprise.
Chris Berman at the end of the game gave Andy Reid a couple cheeseburgers.
I saw that from In-N-Out Burger. That was great. By the way, Chris Berman, man, that dude should be on every.
Yeah, he's the best.
I mean, how if ESPN? I know he kind of wanted to take a break for a while, but he's coming back, kind of. Yeah. They need to give him a primetime spot.
There's nobody better than Chris Berman.
Nobody better than Chris Berman. And not to mention, all the players and the coaches love him. Like, that was the interview everybody wanted to do after the game. He's the best. Andy Reid gave him a hug. That was awesome. It was funny when they gave him the In-N-Out burgers right there. There was 2 of them. I thought he was going to take a bite on TV, but he didn't. And, some guys would have been like, oh, thank you, as a joke. And then, after, walked away and left it, Andy picked that bitch up and took it. He was about to finish those 2 cheeseburgers right away. He was not letting those things go. But, yeah, to me, dude, Travis Kelce has become – he's become the character that he's been built into, I think. And I get it, right? You become the number 1 podcast in the country, right? If we got to be a giant podcast and we were popular, I'm sure we would have.
I might even bump fucking Big Dog like that if we become number 1. I might have to fucking hip check Big Dog in here. Except he would get rid of me real quick. Get the fuck out of here.
We would need a new studio, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, dude, you missed something.
We gotta superimpose my face and Big Dog's face on this little Andy Reid Travis Kelce picture. Well, fucking funny.
Well, you missed some. You missed some good takes and laughs last night with Big Dog.
I'm sure I did.
Very entertaining game. It was weird. He was rooting for the Chiefs at first, and then switched to the Niners, and then he kept going back and forth. I didn't know who he wanted to win in the end.
It's weird. I didn't have a dog in the fight. I knew a lot of people, you bet on the Chiefs. Some other people, they bet on them too. I was like, man, I guess I'll root for him. Listen, Mahomes drives me crazy, but him being a Texas Tech guy, it was like, I guess to me, I root for them probably deep down only because I'll tell you this. If it was fucking Detroit Lions, I would have been going crazy.
Yeah, I know you would have. You're a big Dan Campbell guy, of course. Big Ball Dan.
Fucking Godzilla Ball Dan. But I can't root for a San Francisco team. Any San Francisco 49ers, just any of the, they're obviously, I'm not a huge Cowboys fan, but the old rivalry, and I know some Niners fans, some guys that are really nice Niners fans and other ones that are just bang bang Niner gang people. I'm just like, shut the fuck up. So it's to me, I ended up going. I was, I guess, secretly pulling for the Chiefs. I just wanted to see a good game, and
I did too.
That's what we got. So
if I hadn't taken,
and I like Andy Reid. That's the deal, really.
And that's the thing. He is the most likable guy.
Yeah,
he really is. He's such a good dude. I do think he's solidified himself, in my opinion. Championships wise, if you take that into account, he's the second best ever. I think he's the third best ever. I think Jimmy Johnson was better. He just didn't coach as long. I think that's Jimmy Johnson won a national title and 2 Super Bowls. Jerry fired him. So, but I think if Andy wins another one, he's getting close to Bill.
If they get the three-peat, that would be pretty crazy.
Now, has anybody ever three-peated?
Don't think so.
I don't think so either. Now, I will say this before I get to my last dumbass. And you tell me if I'm wrong here, but I was listening to a little bit of Pardon My Take, and it bothered the shit out of me. they were talking about how they no longer need to compare Mahomes to Tom Brady. They should be comparing him to the GOATs of all sports because he's better. Dude, to me, and I don't know that, I think 90% of people would agree with me, at least in the fact that he's not better than Brady. I think that in order for him to even be in the same conversation as Brady, he has to win 7. And I think he'd have to win 8 for you to ever tell me he's better. Here's why. In his prime, and I know Mahomes is, it was in his early part of his career, but Mahomes in the stretch where he was like really good, right? From like 23 to 28, he played Brady 2 times, once in Kansas City and once in the Super Bowl. And Brady was at the tail end of his career, completely out of his prime, not the best, not even close to his best of his career. And Brady beat him both times. He beat him in Kansas City for the AFC Championship and went on to win a Super Bowl, and he beat him in a neutral field Super Bowl, and he beat the living shit out of him 31-9. I don't know how you could ever put them in the same conversation. Now, I get it. Like you're saying, he's on pace. Football's different. It's not like, oh, well, he's got 3 now. That means he's definitely going to win 9.
Oh, no, yeah.
He might win 2 more ever.
He might
win 9.
I mean,
and
look
honestly,
at Aaron Rodgers. You would have thought he would have won several championships.
Exactly. And you look at it, this is the first time ever that a quarterback on a max deal like that won a Super Bowl. It doesn't happen because look at the rest of the team. That's the thing that nobody understands. Not only is this not changing, it's actually going to get worse because you look at some of those young defensive guys, they're going to need to get paid soon, like how good they are. They're going to lose guys next year.
I don't know exactly when it will happen with Mahomes, but I do think that he, some people disagree with this, but I think as far as like his character, he's a pretty good guy. And I actually genuinely believe at this point, he's getting so close to that conversation and that matters to him too, that in the next 4 to 5 years, he's going to start taking significant pay cuts.
You really think so?
Yeah, dude, because he's already worth so much money.
He just doesn't seem like the type of guy to do that.
He is. He would do it mainly because, listen, if he only had 1 or 2 Super Bowls, right, whatever, and it's like, but if he legitimately thought that it's like, hey, doing this, I can win another 3 Super Bowls. And dude, you got to realize, like, think about all the State Farm money coming in, whatever. The guy makes a shit ton of money.
I get it. Just rare do you see that.
He will. No, I'm not talking like crazy pay cuts, but he'll be like I'm going to say in 5 years, whatever, after this next deal goes through, whenever, and he's 30, because he's what, 29 now? How old is he?
28.
Okay. So when he's 33, and then the way the NFL is these days, as you know, these quarterbacks can play until they're fucking 40 years old. Yeah. So I just think
I don't know if the way he plays you can.
Sure. I mean, he's going to have to modify his game a little bit, but I think he's always going to be able to move decent. Like, even Aaron Rodgers at this age, before he tore the Achilles, obviously, but like he could still move okay, get the job done. And Mahomes, to me, is kind of that same. Aaron was more of like he'd get out, just straight line speed, get what he could. Mahomes was a little shiftier as far as movement. Yeah. But I think, and I could be wrong, but I do think that if he does, once Kelce's gone, dude, he's going to realize that it's like, okay, do I want an extra $10 million a year? I live in Kansas City in a palace and I'm worth, $700 million, whatever he's worth.
Yeah, it'll eventually $1 billion.
There's the actual 10 to 15 million extra a year for me to just be shitty and play. On a shitty team, or would I rather spend that money elsewhere and compete for championships? And ultimately, people like Brady, people like him that want to win and are driven by being called the greatest of all time, will take the pay cut. I think he eventually will. I think we're a few years away from it. But like I said, as soon as Kelce leaves and he realizes, I'm up shit creek with this contract and we can't pay these guys on defense, and I also don't even have a receiver to throw the fucking ball to, he's going to real quickly, I think, take some. And to be fair, a guy that you can look at, and I don't know, I can't remember exactly, but a guy that you can just say, look what happened to him. Look, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. He never took a pay cut. He said, no, you're going to pay me what I'm fucking worth. And guess what? He didn't win any Super Bowls because they couldn't have anybody around.
But he also could think, I won one this year doing it. I'm going to keep, why I can do, why not? I can do it. I'm not saying you're wrong. You might 100% be right. Here's my other problem with this. Not with your argument. I think you make a good point. He may do it. You actually kind of convinced me he might do it. What about when Andy Reid leaves? I mean, this is a completely. Andy Reid's one of the greatest coaches ever. I mean, he took Donovan McNabb and made him an all-pro. I mean, basically took the Eagles to 4 or 5 straight NFC titles, almost won a Super Bowl, goes to Kansas City, had plenty of success without Mahomes. Not Super Bowl success. Mahomes is the difference there, obviously. I'm not saying he's not. Mahomes is, to me, right now, and I'm not a Mahomes guy, I think he's probably the second greatest ever, in my opinion. I don't think you can put him in Brady's category unless he legitimately ties him or beats him.
Yeah.
But to me, he's the second greatest ever. I think so. I'll preface what I'm saying. Like, I don't think he's in Brady's conversation by saying I think he's the second greatest ever. And I said that last night. I was like, the guy's incredible. I mean, the drive at the end of the game, I think he was 8 for 8 with like 28 yards rushing. It was just like flawless. It was flawless. Like I said, though, that game could have gone the other way, and very easily. And so could the first Super Bowl against San Francisco. I know the score is misleading. They were down going into the fourth quarter. They were down 10 in all 3 Super Bowl wins.
Yep.
So to me, Andy Reid's 65. He's been coaching for 42 years. He all the way back to he's a graduate assistant at BYU back in 1982. So how many more years does Andy have left? He's not in the greatest health. I'm not saying he's not healthy. I'm just saying he's probably a little older than 65. Like, I would guess he's got maybe 5 to 7 more years left. So, like, I know that's the majority of
in his life.
No.
Andy's gonna die.
Coaching career, bro. Coaching career.
Wow, how dare you?
I'm
put
not
that
saying
on
Andy's going down.
He's got his hip. He's got his hip cracked by Travis last night.
But now that I say that out loud, maybe,
I honestly think that
he have 3 years left.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Now that I say that out loud,
I think that he might only coach. Look, say they somehow win the Super Bowl next year. And
he might be done.
And Kelce's like, oh, I'm done, and then he might be done. And Mahomes, I honestly don't think Mahomes is going to play his whole career for the Chiefs. He'll end up moving on somewhere. Yeah. Because he loves Andy Reid, loves the city, but like if it becomes, and I know he likes the hunts, he certainly could be there his whole career. Yeah. But if they don't put anybody around him and it turns into the Aaron Rodgers situation in Green Bay, he's going to try to leave and go somewhere. Right. Same thing with Brady. I mean, things just eventually run their course. I think if he had it his way, he would stay in KC his whole career.
That's true.
And if they build people around him, but he could very easily, once he hits 35 years old, end up going somewhere else for a better situation. So
I agree with that. My last dumbass I'll say real quick is I texted y'all this last night. Maurice Jones-Drew. He's on NFL Network, and I tweeted at him multiple times. I hope he read it. He doesn't have that many followers, so it wouldn't shock me if he did. This guy is so stupid. This is like a dumbass of the year shit. How nobody told him this too? That's the funniest part of this. Nobody said anything to him. He kept asking the question. He asked Mahomes. He asked Andy Reid. He asked Travis Kelce. He kept asking the question. He goes, I was watching the end of the game in overtime, and the clock was running down to 3 seconds, and you guys were just so calm. Like, I was like, are they going to take a timeout? I was tearing up. I was freaking out. Like, why are you guys not calling timeout? But the game was going to, end. And Mahomes, being so nice, didn't call him out. He was just like, oh, we'd been in this situation. We were prepared for it. Our coaches did a great job of preparing us. So, like, I guess by his answer, he didn't realize, like, that he was wrong because he was so nice. And none of the other 2 or 3 hosts, nobody who's a producer they have in the ear said anything. So then Kelce comes on, same question, same answer, same thing happens. Andy Reid comes on, same thing happens. I mean, it was so embarrassing.
No one's correcting him, just letting him go.
And the two other analysts sitting there had to be like, oh my God, like, how come nobody's saying anything? How is the producer not saying anything? He had no idea. Like, okay, I get it, right? Like, the overtime rules for me were confusing right when it first happened. But I fucking figured it out, right? Like, after the first, like, when the clock was running down and I realized, okay, it's not, because Gene Steratore came on and said, fourth quarter timing rules are in effect. That was not true because they went out of bounds with under 5 minutes and the clock continued to run after they spotted the ball. There was no 2-minute warning. So I realized that was incorrect. He did say that. Gene Steratore came on and said that. So, but then even Romo in the broadcast said it. He goes, because I was trying to figure it out.
Yes,
and nobody knew. Romo said it, right? Romo said, okay, the reason, if you're wondering that the Chiefs are not going fast, is they know this is like a first quarter. The game does not end if the clock runs out. So even if you're just a fucking fan watching the game and have the volume on the TV, you would hear that. And yet Maurice Jones-Drew, who's a former NFL player, look, not to mention, if I'm a fucking analyst there and I'm live on TV, I'm going to know before going into that game the overtime rules. And if I don't and I fuck up, I'm going to be looking it up immediately on my phone, which he can do because he wasn't on air until after the game. It was absolutely hilarious. I mean, I kept pointing it out. We were dying. There was like 4 of us in the game room watching. We were all laughing so hard, like watching this fucking idiot. No clue. And I haven't looked at the backlash. I don't know if like a lot of people picked up on it or not, but I was tweeting at him and I noticed it, and he is absolutely my number one dumbass of the week because that is embarrassing. He'll be a dumbass of the year candidate come December of the end of this year. Guaranteed.
Gene was just probably when he was doing it was just giving you the standard overtime rules.
Fourth quarter time.
Yeah, because obviously if time expires, the game's over at that moment. And it's a tie or whatever, or if someone's going down to try to, match a score somehow or, a field goal, then obviously the game would just end. But yeah, Gene, I think there was a lot of people confused, but yeah, Maurice Jones-Drew's got to be at least a little bit better at his job down there.
I want to,
we're looking at the, on ESPN here, they got the new Super Bowl odds out. Niners plus 550. Chiefs plus 700, Ravens plus 850, Bills 10-1, Lions 1,200, Bengals 1,300. Your Dallas Cowboys 1,600.
I saw the 1,600.
Eagles 1,800. My Houston Texans 22-1. Let me scroll all the way down through endless piles of shit and find the Titans.
Can I guess?
Yeah,
go ahead. All right, I'm gonna say plus. It's 500-1 is my guess.
It is 1,500-1.
Wow, I'm actually
No, sorry. No. I'm missing
150 to 1.
150-1, which
that's
is stupid.
All
the odds. The Panthers are 250-1.
Yeah, okay. So nobody's up to 500.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. 150-1. I mean,
so you're saying there's a chance, Bailey.
So I think that's worth a $100 bet. What would that pay out? $150,000? Was that wrong? $1,500? No, it's $150,000, right?
Yep.
Or 15,000.
15,000 for 100.
Math is hard. Did you know that real quick? I want to bring Big Dog
in here for some math.
Did you know what the last play was called?
Corn dog.
Corn dog, baby. Dude, that's the exact same play they ran against the Eagles multiple times last year. They scored one. They scored twice on corn dog, and then they scored on corn dog again to win the game. And I want to say one last thing.
Was it McCole Hardman that scored the touchdown?
Yes.
I saw some guy on Facebook, scrolling through. They always have the crazy bet slips of people, like, whatever. Yeah. And it was like a $12 bet, and it was Jennings for San Francisco, anytime touchdown score.
I'd be like 10-1.
McCole Hardman, anytime touchdown score.
15-1.
And the Chiefs to win. So, like, that McCole Hardman touchdown, it was like a $7 bet that made the guy like $7,000.
That's actually nuts,
dude. It was funny. So, like, him throwing the McCole Hardman and then winning the game made that guy $17 bet.
That must have been on, like, FanDuel or DraftKings.
Something weird, yeah.
Well, and here's the thing. I have to say, that is the one thing that in Texas is so backward for not legalizing sports gambling. But that's the one thing, like, even on Bovada, I couldn't parlay those things. I was trying to do a Howie Uncut Gems special. I was gonna parlay the coin toss, no touchback, like CMC to win MVP, and like another plus 600, and it was gonna be like a 700 to $1 $10 parlay to win like $70,000 and or $7,000, and it wouldn't let me even parlay like two things together. It was so stupid.
Yeah, I guess they just do that on like the Prize Picks or FanDuel or like the DraftKings.
Just those the big giant ones or whatever.
Yeah,
I couldn't parlay any props. It was really, really stupid. On my local book, I couldn't parlay props. That I get because they can't take that kind of liability. But for Bovada, that's a little bit ridiculous. Yeah, that was a heck of a Super Bowl. Let's bring Big Dog in and see what his thoughts on the game were. Let's go. Come on.
There he is, folks. The man, the myth, the legend.
Don't
come on. Come on there, Big Dog. Get in there. Oh, look at that.
Grabbing your ball.
That's some Super Bowl action right there. Oh, there he goes. All right. Oh, you guys need to figure out Big Dog's chair before he comes in here.
Chair.
My God.
All right, now I'm waiting for some business. Now, real quick.
We've gone over the whole Super Bowl from start to finish.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Go
I'm
ahead.
my quick take.
Give your take.
Take is Kelce was out of line, ridiculous. Taylor Swift show off grabbing Andy Reid. Never would he do that. Felt the pressure of not getting the ball in the first half. He had 1 catch or 0 catches.
1 for 1 yard.
1 for 1 yard. Totally driven by a Taylor Swift up in the booth. He's done nothing. Totally shows you he is a guy that is whipped. And the bottom line is, let me tell you something. I mean, I love Taylor Swift. I don't care about these Swifties.
Yeah, I don't give a shit on Not even Big Dog can handle the Swifties.
Oh, the Swifties are all.
Don't handle their radar. I want no part of that.
Fuck the Swifties. But
don't clip that.
Here nor there. I think she's done a lot, and she is iconic. She has done really well. I like her vibe. She's pretty cool. But what I'm saying is, I don't believe this thing. I don't buy her. Anyway, that's not my real take. My real take is I was right about special teams, period.
It's always a special teams
I know
play.
You didn't agree. Y'all don't special teams every time in those big games
when
matters.
You're flying up here.
And thank you. I see things in a bigger picture than you guys.
That's
little people. You people are down here.
What do you mean, you people?
Well, you people. Here, let me say one thing too. I've got to apologize to my wife because I made the funny comment about the strippers. I wouldn't get strippers. I'd get midget girls to come to my Super Bowl party.
Midget strippers.
I'd get midget girls. I wouldn't get strippers.
You can't say that.
Well, okay, little people girls.
Oh.
Okay, dwarves.
He thinks he's Wolf of Wall Street.
It's like Wolf of Wall Street.
That's what he thinks. He thinks he's the Wolf of Wall Street.
I wouldn't get improper women at my Super Bowl party. I get dwarves that I could throw against the wall with Velcro like he did to see which picks I want. Okay? And I would pay them. They would be paid dwarves. Okay?
That's actually pretty smart,
I know,
honestly.
really? Could you imagine
that
I have a party of me
might be
and
one
about
of your
20 dwarf women around me?
Might be one of your best ideas yet.
I mean, I'm not joking. I think I'm going to find some and I'm going to pay them. I'm going to give you $50 each to come to a party and you just dance around me.
You got to make sure they wear helmets.
Not
if
dance
you're
like that. Oh, yeah, helmets. That's true. That's true. I can start a football league of women dwarves.
Oh,
I would take off on especially because you need something right now. We're in hibernation mode.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a guy, you go to a cabin for 5 months.
Well, no,
you grow a beard. Seriously,
we got your
you
XFL
get some Schlitz beer.
Up. You got your XFL coming up. You
yeah,
like
and I always pick.
We're gonna have like the Big Dog XFL picks of the week.
Yeah, and by the
way,
way,
XFL guru.
Thank you. I am excellent at watching XFL and USFL, whatever the hell they call it.
All the guys,
UFL,
guys that have gone to the league from the NFL, this guy's known about them weeks.
Thank you. I can pick talent assessment, but I want to say that I can't go off on about that other kind of stuff. But next week, or when I come back, and we're not doing Monday next week, y'all are shooting on Wednesday. My studio's packed on Monday, Tuesdays.
Got to make some money.
Next week, I'm going to come back with a take a little more controversial
than midget tossing.
Than midget tossing.
Okay. Oh, I can't wait to hear it. Well, I mean, you got people on the edge of their seats.
And by the way, if you can throw a midget I'm going to put a 50-yard line, like a little mini 50. If you can throw the midget more than 30 yards, you win $1,000 from me.
Oh, $1,000 cash. You hear that, folks?
1,000. So if you go and send me videos of you throwing them,
$1,000.
$30. But I'm joking. I'm joking.
We were so close to getting some sponsors, and then he had to come on.
How good your fucking golf game looks these days.
Did you see that?
Oh.
Did you see me out there?
My God.
I hit a ball.
He hit a ball out of the bunker in the hole.
Thank you. And not only that,
I hit
a ball,
close enough.
Hole 5, where you walk up and you go, this is your ball. I'm 10 yards from the green.
I mean, 300 yards down there easily.
So I'm supposed to hit the ball. With my age, I'm supposed to hit it about 120 yards. That was 240.
Oh, wait.
Was that 240?
All at 240.
120. You're supposed to hit the
out of sand. You see how my out of sand shot?
Oh yeah.
All I got to get. No, I got to get.
I know old ladies at Rock and J who can hit at 120.
Hey, I watched Daly real quick. Daly was saying on your 5, 6, and 7s are a nightmare to hit for me as well. I hit him like a wedge. He taught me a trick, Daly. I watched his little Instagram. He said he hits his 5, 6, and 7 irons like he's hitting a wedge. Don't hit it too hard. Just try to hit it underneath the ball. I'm going to start practicing that.
I'm going to try and get John Daly to come on the podcast.
Me and Daly would be good hanging out together. Me and him would be great. I think he likes music too. But my point is,
he drinks, smokes, and gambles. You don't do any of that shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I
you
gamble.
like people to think that you
I gamble.
You don't gamble. You owe me
my God.
You owe me $33,000.
That proves I gamble.
Fake news.
He owes me $33,000, and Turner can attest to it.
But here's my other take. We are in an NBA. I want to say one thing, and I'm almost done. The NBA I watched the other night. Texted Dylan. the Dallas Mavericks literally went down. They scored 160 points. They went down and shot 3 points from the corner the entire quarter. It was 90 or 89 in the first half. The NBA and Adam Silver has ruined it. No one's going to watch that. You keep saying, don't get rid of the three-point line. No one wants to watch regular season NBA. You watching regular season NBA?
No.
Thank you. I can barely watch regular season college, and that's because the coaches in college don't allow it. The NBA, can you imagine 90 points in a half or 89? That is ridiculous. It is a boring-ass league. They need to change it and figure it out. A solution for the three-point line. They're popping them like nothing now. Nothing.
The final score, I was telling Dylan, you were complaining about it that night, too. It was Friday night, and it was the Lakers-New Orleans game. I think it slowed down a little bit.
It did slow down.
It slowed down a little bit. It was the score at halftime was what? Here we go.
It was 88-74.
88-74
at halftime.
At halftime, the final score was 139-122. Yeah, it was absolutely ridiculous.
But my point is, who's going to watch that? And these prima donnas and the money that they're going to get, the TV deal, they're on a downfall. I can't wait to see the playoff. The playoff ratings will be good based on
everybody likes watching the playoffs. I love watching the playoffs. I'm going to start watching the NBA now.
I think that I think if you're the commissioner of the professional midget tossing league,
can we get away from this?
We could make way more money than the NBA.
You know what? I'd watch that. I'd seriously watch that. I would really watch them playing basketball rather than I would them. You know what I'll do? I'm going to do a basketball game.
I have some help here?
Listen, I'll do a basketball game where I stuff all of them.
One on the show.
I will slap them back. I will put them on a court 10-1, and I will play 10 of them. And I will slap and get back, Trick. Taking that ball back, slamming it back.
Big dog.
But anyway, I'm not against it.
He's the type of guy.
I have 5 friends that are small people. 5. All right?
Oh, really? So that makes it okay for you to throw them at a party?
Yeah, I can't name their names, but there's 5.
Are they like in a Little Kiss tribute, man?
Yeah, they are. The Midget Kiss.
Midget Kiss.
Midget Kiss. But they're not.
That would be an awesome
small
band
kiss.
name.
I forgot what I called.
Yeah,
but real quick,
baby Kiss, Little Kiss.
Listen to
Chris Leak, 7 Dwarves.
And the bottom line is that the NBA is unwatchable at this point. So what I want everybody to get out there and watch the UFL, whatever the hell they're calling it now. Watch something. The NFL needs to develop a spring league, only about 7 games to get us to July, because you got a lot of cliff divers right now. You got guys that are sitting there on the ledge about to jump because they got nothing else in their lives going on. Seriously.
The UFL doesn't start till March 30th.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous too. And they should. The NFL needs to start a 4 or 5 just cities only where they bring the teams in. There's no home field and that crap. It's NFL based, so therefore people are interested. Maybe that's where you bring in the overseas leagues. That's where you say we're going to play in London. But it is the Tampa Bay Bucks B team. It is the Dallas Cowboys B team. You got all the fans of the NFL watching on a summer league, which really starts in March. Okay? Brilliant fucking ideas is what I come up with. Seriously. So I'm back to work today. I want to say I'm sorry for all the rude things I've said because I want to make sure they get sponsorships. And I can bring sponsorships in, so I really don't give a fuck what I say. Because if I want to bring sponsorships in, I fucking can. That's the bottom line. I can bring Coca-Cola in or something if I want. But my bottom, because my record label had more sponsors than any other label ever. We had everything sponsored. I already said that. But anyway. So
if you had a weekly podcast back then, you would not have had any sponsors.
I would have my own podcast, and I'd have sponsors like Red Bull and people like that can take my edge. They can get who I am. I say it like it is.
Edgy shit.
Edgy stuff. I do. And by the way, this isn't for the podcast. I say it every hour of the day, every minute. Right?
I would love to say this was a show for the podcast, but I wouldn't say that he's quite geared up quite this high, but I mean, he's pretty much just the exact same person off air.
And by the way, I watched the Martha Stewart on CNN. I was mesmerized by how much we're alike. Me and Martha.
You and Martha?
She can't get enough hours in the day. She sleeps 3 or 4 hours a day. She's amazing. She was a great story. But here's the one thing she said. She got hit by lightning 3 times, so you're wrong. She said, I got hit in the ear one time. I got hit over here, and I believe it gave me something. The day I got fucking hit by lightning is when the pics started coming in. And he thinks I didn't get hit. I had to call 911, and they were like, my God, you're alive. Martha said she got the picks. My picks since that day have been incredible.
You picked the Niners to win last night.
They almost did. Yeah, I picked them.
They almost did.
No, they did almost win. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but you got
and by the way,
you act like a piece of lightning hit you, and you became a savant, a sports betting savant. You lost $33,000 to me.
Martha got hit 3 times. By the way,
you never were hit by lightning.
Yes, I was hit by lightning. Oh my God, I was spiked by lightning. Number 1. Number 2, let's just say one thing. I told you this thing, and this morning I got up at 7, put on my wireless headphones, and just ran each show because I have YouTube TV. I can go back. Everybody praised Brock and said
nobody praised
Richard
Brock
Sherman
Purdy.
said this.
Nobody
really?
did.
He said that the last 3. He goes, rather the last 3 drives, just because the third quarter he threw out with 11 throws. He said, field goal, field goal, field goal.
McCaffrey.
Mahomes, field goal, touchdown.
Turner, if the San Francisco 49ers win the game, who would
field goal, touchdown, field goal. Bottom line is, he said, went toe-to-toe. Every time the Chiefs came down, they came down.
No, he didn't. Nothing to do with Purdy.
And they broke down the blitz.
Nothing to do with Purdy.
The missed blitz pickup on the goal yard,
he didn't read the blitz. He didn't know how to read a blitz.
It doesn't matter. He's
Turner.
He's played 21 games. 21 NFL games.
If the 49ers would have won the game, who would have won the MVP?
Oh, McCaffrey.
Thank you. And Purdy was not very good.
Because McCaffrey had
160 yards and a touchdown. You're wrong.
Purdy would have ended with 2 touchdowns if
no,
they
he
won.
wouldn't
Yeah, 2 because they would have won on a touchdown, dummy.
No,
so
McCaffrey would have run it in. Could have run it in.
No, he's not. 2 touchdowns and 300 yards. Mahomes had 33 and 2 touchdowns.
So he had 70 more yards and another touchdown?
If he would have had 50 more yards had they won the game.
Hey, look, if Purdy...
Your point's stupid.
If
Purdy can play.
And no
one this morning said anything except praise his ass. In fact, last night, Hasselbeck went on with SVP, you can go look it up, and they're like, oh, he's great. He can play. Not only can he play, he's no manager. He's an executive. That was his line. No manager. The kid's Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman praised him all that. So did Michael Irving, and so did.
It's all right. I'm going to cut half of this.
Skip.
You can't.
Hey guys.
You can't cut midget wrestling.
No, I'm cutting just when he goes on and talks over everybody because he's wrong. Like, oh yeah, if Purdy had 70 more yards passing and another 50. Touchdown, he would have won the MVP. What a take there! He would have had to have
a touchdown.
What a take!
He would have
had 70 yards and a touchdown. He wins.
Had balls, she'd be my uncle.
That's right.
That's what they say.
Here's the thing. This is the funny thing. Is that you say he wouldn't have had a touchdown? How would he win without a touchdown? Of course he would have had a touchdown.
Yeah, because that's just assuming that he would have thrown a touchdown.
That's what they were doing down there. They weren't running with McCaffrey down there.
They ran the ball with McCaffrey. They ran the ball with McCaffrey. That's the only way.
80 yards, Dylan. He had 80 yards, 150 total. He didn't have 100 yards running.
The reason
he didn't have 100 running.
He had 160 scrimmage yards, and the reason that they didn't win is because they threw the ball. Had they run and McCaffrey would have gotten the ball, they would have won and he would have won the MVP. But what they did was they threw it. And when you throw the ball with Brock, he shits himself.
And I want to disprove your
diarrhea down the leg.
I want to disprove your stupidity. Not only did they throw the ball on the 3 drives where he scored 3 field goals, they threw it more than they ran it. So you're wrong.
That's why they lost.
You're wrong. They got the 3 field goals.
3 field goals is not
but it doesn't matter.
To win.
There was a tied game. They went to overtime because he threw the ball.
No,
like Kyle said on the after.
Lost.
Yeah, they played more of Kyle later. He's like, let him throw the ball. He did great. He took us down the field. Quote, he took us down the field 3 times.
And they lost.
Thank you. So it wasn't McCaffrey that took him down the field. It was Brock Purdy.
Did they win?
No, it doesn't matter. So I was totally right. My boy's good.
Doesn't matter.
Lee Harvey Oswald is in the game. He's playing.
He
he's
does
doing
look
good.
just like Lee
Harvey. Like Lee Harvey Oswald. That's who he is. You take a photo of him. He's Lee Harvey Oswald. So I got to roll.
Gotta go make some. Gotta go make some big dogs. Gotta go make. Yeah.
For my 49ers and Brock Purdy. All right. That's it. We're wrapping today. I got shit to do.
Get out. Get out. Close the door. We're not done
today,
Close
big
the
dog.
Door. I mean, I don't. I'm speechless.
Unhinged today.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. It was supposed to be an apology and it turned into throwing midgets. What the fuck?
Yeah,
he basically. What is going on?
Well, but what it was your mom told him that he had to apologize, so he apologized for the stripper comment.
You're responsible.
But then he went midget wrestling.
You're responsible for quite a bit of this, I must say.
I didn't sit here, dude.
I would say like
it's like you got to.
I'm not gonna act like he's a normal human. He's responsible for 70% of it, but it could stop at points or you could not bring up topics, and you create 30% of that content. Just so you know,
I give the people what they want to see.
Just so you know,
it's Big Dog talking about real important things. It's what they want to hear.
By the way,
you got to have this segment of the show. You got to talk about sports, but then you have to have what Big Dog's been thinking of the week.
Not necessarily Big Dog and his 7 dwarves. We don't have to have that. We could have just some normal talk about whatever.
Hey, he's the one that came in here and brought up midget tossing.
I agree, but you sure egged it on. By the way, shout out to I think it's Oz or the Mentalist in the Hard Knocks episode with the Jets, the preseason Hard Knocks. He did that like magic shit, and he predicted to McCole Hardman, who was on the Jets, that his team would beat the Niners in the Super Bowl. Never a doubt, baby, because Hardman went back to the Chiefs and they won last night.
That's wild.
Isn't that kind of crazy? Yeah, he predicted.
Was McCole Hardman there just for like a week or something?
I don't know how long he was there.
Yeah, I don't even, because they were talking about him being on the Jets. I was like, I don't even remember him being on the Jets.
But dude, I will say the Chiefs are turning into the Patriots, right? I mean, you get these guys go out. They're pretty good on your team, or they're okay. They go to another team. They suck. They're just spies for the other team. Yep. They steal their stuff. They come back. He ruined Aaron Rodgers' career, comes back and scores the game-winning touchdown in the Super Bowl. It's the Patriots 2.0. It's what they are.
The Patriot way.
The Patriot way. Hey, incoming Eric Bieniemy. Here he comes, coming right back. He stole all the stuff from the Washington Commanders, ruined the franchise for one season. Now he's coming right back. Let's talk real quick. We won't really do NBA. There's nothing interesting in NBA from this week. As we get closer to the playoffs, we will. But I do want to talk some college basketball. We're less than a month away from the conference tournaments. We had a heck of a weekend of basketball. This is crazy. This is the first year that this has ever happened. Top 10 teams ranked, teams ranked in the top 10 playing on the road against unranked teams. In the past, 73% the last 10 years. 43% win percentage this year on the road. It's been absolutely wild. There's been upsets every single weekend. We saw a number of upsets on Saturday. Number 6 Tennessee loses at A&M by double digits. Auburn, number 12, fresh off of a domination of their rival Alabama at home. They've looked really good in the SEC. They get beat by 25+ against unranked Florida. Number 10 Illinois loses at unranked Michigan State by 7. Number 11, Wisconsin loses their 4th straight, this one at Rutgers. That's their 3 of their last 4 games they've lost on the road to an unranked team. They lost to Nebraska, Michigan, and then now they lose to Rutgers. They lost to Rutgers by 20. I mean, damn, UNLV went into the pit and beat a really good New Mexico team in one of the tougher environments in college basketball. This has been a wild season. And then you get a whole, a wrench there where you see Gonzaga go into Rupp Arena, and Gonzaga's not been good. Didn't have a quad 1 win all year, and they beat Kentucky. It's been an absolutely ridiculous year. Did you watch these games this weekend?
I did not. I was at my niece's basketball tournament, which was real high-level stuff.
I heard they went to overtime.
Yes, went to OT, lost at the last second. I think the games were
devastating.
I think one of the games was a 14-13 thriller.
Oh, so it went over the total.
Yeah, according to my brother. He sets those before every game. I didn't watch a lot of college basketball, but now that football's over, I will definitely, this is the time of year that I'm always interested in, but this is the time of the year I'll start watching, all the games on Saturdays. So
yeah, it's I will say
midweek games.
Couple of interesting points. UConn and Purdue continue to be just dominant. And it's not close. They're the only 2 teams who I consistently trust to go on the road and win games in hostile environments. I might actually be starting to believe a little bit more in Purdue. I still want to see them do it in the tournament. I still won't pick them to go to the Final Four unless they just have a really easy path. But I'm getting a little bit more impressed by them as the weeks go on. UConn's the best team in the country. The only top 10 team to win on the road on Saturday was Arizona, which was actually maybe the most surprising. I thought they were going to lose to Colorado, who was 13-0 at home. Interestingly enough, Colorado has a kid who is like a top draft pick. What is his name? There was like 7 or 8. Cody Williams. There was like 7 or 8 San Antonio Spurs front office people and scouts there watching him in that game on Saturday. 24 in the building. They are saying, and we were talking about this beforehand, I think Dalton Knecht of Tennessee is the best college player in this year. I don't think it's close, like for as far as NBA prospects. And they're saying Cody Williams is going to be the first collegiate player taken off the board. I don't get it. I hope the Spurs do not take him. He looked horrific in that game. I think he scored 6 points. Just looks like he's not ready for an NBA physicality. Not that there's any defense played there. Couple other things, and you can jump in here at any point. But really, I'm interested to see how much longer Andy Enfield has at USC. We know he's got Bronny James, who was an All-American. They have Isaiah Collier, who's like considered a top draft pick prospect as well. They are horrific. They lost to Stanford on the road by 30. I did have Stanford in that game, thank God, because I lost on BYU. But you're USC. You're getting the talent. It reminds me kind of like of the old Texas when they had Shaka Smart and they get like 1 or 2 All-Americans every year and you just can't figure out why they can't win. But he's got to go soon.
And I mean, USC's really not good. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I think he'll be gone as soon as, like, Bronny James might like him, so maybe they keep him. I don't know if Bronny's staying another year or what's going to happen, but I assume he's going to be gone here real soon. So
they're 9-15, 3-10 in the Pac-12, last place in the conference. And it's only going to get harder because they're switching conferences.
It's really hard to do. Like, it doesn't even it makes zero sense.
In the Pac-12.
Like, you get, like, really good players. So I don't know if it's just an absolute coaching issue or, like, he's just completely lost the locker room and all the kids just care about.
That's what it feels like.
It's got to be it, right?
But it is weird.
Penny Hardaway came out earlier this year and basically said it's the same thing at Memphis, like trying to get all these collectively, like all these individuals playing like one common goal where it's not about them just getting their points, right? So
yeah, but
it's got to be tough. But I mean, USC's way worse than Memphis.
Yeah, there's a difference between that where you're still like borderline being ranked in the top 25 and USC where you're losing to Cal Irvine, Long Beach State, you're losing at home to Washington State, although Washington State's actually been really good this year. Oregon State, you're last place in the Pac-12, 9-15, 3-10 in conference. Just, not like that conference is stacked by any means. You should be at least 500 in the conference with that much talent. I know Collier's been out, but really disappointing. He was good at Florida Gulf Coast. He was a good coach. I'm very, very surprised that he hasn't been able to turn that program around, but he's got to be out of there. He needs to go back to a mid-major and get back to his roots because he has not looked good.
Nope, not at all.
I do want to talk we have a good game tonight, Texas Tech and Kansas. I do like Texas Tech in that game. I got them at -2. They're all the way up to 3.5 right now. I don't know if there's value left at 3.5, but McCullough's still out for Kansas. That was a crazy game too. Baylor, Kansas this weekend. Came down to the last few seconds. I just saw
the highlights on here of them Baylor having those shots to.
They had 2 wide open threes to tie it and missed both. Do you think the Big 12? What conference do you think wins the title? Like, do you think the Big 12 is like the old Big East, where a lot of the times, not every year because they did get some champs. UConn won a couple years, but a lot of times the Big East would beat each other up so much, and then they would get in the tournament and not have the success that people thought because they were so I think from the whole year.
I think the Big 12 is clearly the bottom, top to bottom best conference. But as far as like winning the title, I don't know. I think it's going to do Houston a lot of good just being battle tested this year. I don't think they can win the national championship, but they just can't shoot it well enough, which is kind of always their issue. But we'll see. I think they're ranked. I was looking here, ranked 3rd. So, I mean, obviously they're still really good. It's weird because they haven't had the greatest year, but I think if anybody out of the Big 12 wins it, it's going to be Kansas because it's just.
No, yeah, I agree.
I mean, I just think that on paper, then they got Dickinson as a big man. Obviously it depends on whatever their little guard's name is. I always forget. That's kind of.
DeJuan Harris.
Yeah, DeJuan Harris. It's like they kind of get when he plays good, they can beat everybody. When he plays bad,
he's questionable tonight. Although I think he's going to play. McCullough is out. I will say they, in my opinion, the key for Kansas, and I know, we don't get too specific in college basketball yet, but we're going to. Johnny Furphy is a freshman from Australia, and they inserted him into the starting lineup like 8 or 9 games ago. he has been outstanding. He's shooting like 46% from three. He rebounds. He's really they have the best starting five in the country when they're healthy, I think, with KJ Adams, McCullough, DeJuan Harris, Hunter Dickinson, and Johnny Furphy.
Yeah.
The problem is they don't have any depth. That's their biggest issue. They have a transfer from Townsend, Timberlake, who's horrible. He's been super disappointing. They have an All-American freshman who we watched early in the year. I forget his name, a little black kid. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and we were wondering where he was or who he was from.
He's horrible.
He's a highly rated kid.
Yeah, horrible. But anyway, I do give me one team before I want to talk one more thing, but give me one team who you think could make a surprise run, and if you can, and one team who you think is going to get upset early in the tournament who's like relatively highly ranked.
I could see Wisconsin get bounced out in the first round. They've looked terrible. I've kind of thought that
you said that before they went on that streak,
I just
too.
didn't think they're very good.
Yeah, you did.
We saw them play early in the year, and now it's not really going out on a limb. A team that I think can make a deep run that no one's really talking about. There's Indiana State ranked for the first time since Larry Bird there. That no one's really talking about. I think who did I see play earlier that was pretty? Man, the way BYU shoots it, I could see them making a pretty good run. They're not great, but it's just like they're one of those teams that could. I mean, I watch as far as basketball goes, more Big 12 basketball than I've seen them play a few times, and like they typically Provo's a really tough place to play, so they typically beat the shit out of everybody there. But I don't know. That's someone that's kind of in the middle of the pack there that I could see making a run. I don't know. That would be my little. I don't know if I'd call them a surprise team. I also have seen. Utah State's one of those teams that's weird to play in the Mountain West. I've seen them play, and I've seen them play a couple times where they just look really fucking good, and they could beat anybody. I think they have one prospect that's pretty high on their team. I forget his name, but I'd say those two teams. But like I said, I haven't really gotten into watching near as much as usual, and I will here this month because that's what we got left. No more football.
I know, it's crazy. It's actually sad, but I think for me, man, a lot of these teams could lose early. I would say I'm going to go ahead and say Duke. I think Duke is really bothered by physicality. They've got good enough guards, so they probably won't lose that early, but I think I could see them with an early exit. Two teams that are relatively highly ranked now but haven't gotten a lot of respect, who I could really see making a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 run, are Iowa State. Iowa State's defensively really good, and they're normally bad offensively, but they've been much better offensively. They've also shown they can win on the road this year, which they haven't done in years past. I think they can make a really good run. Lipsy is a very good guard. They've got bigs. They've got this kid, this foreign kid who can really shoot it, who's a true freshman. I kind of think they can make a deep run. And then South Carolina has surprised a lot of people.
I was just about to fucking say.
They're 21-3.
Yeah, they're ranked 11. I had no idea.
Well, they've gotten no respect. They didn't really play much of a non-conference schedule, but they're going to win. It looks like they're going to win the regular season SEC the way it plays out.
I wonder what they were projected preseason in SEC.
The only team that I think, they definitely could end up having a losing stretch, but looking at this, they go at Auburn. If they were to somehow win at Auburn, they will win the SEC because they still have LSU at home. They still have Mississippi State, Florida, A&M, like Ole Miss. They don't have a ton of ranked teams left. They get Tennessee at home. They've looked really, really good. They shoot the ball well. They defend. And then the last team I'm going to say, and this is a team that this is a team that I could definitely see myself taking into the Sweet 16 and even into the Elite 8. My Nebraska Cornhuskers. They shoot the ball well. They have a really good big who poses matchup nightmares because he can shoot it and rebound. He can post up. Rent Mast is his name. Really, really good player. Got some great guards. I love Fred Hoiberg. He's been in the tournament. He's done it. I think that team is a Sweet 16 team. They're not ranked. Nobody's going to talk about them. They're going to get in either in like that first four. They're either going to be like a first four team, and they're going to be that one first four team who makes like a super deep run like UCLA did a couple years ago, or they're going to get like a 10 or a 9 seed, and they're going to be a team like, let's say they get like a 9, they'll be a team who upsets a 1 in the second round. I truly believe that. I think that when they are healthy,
can play with anybody.
Yeah, like you look at it like when they're healthy, they haven't won on the road, which is a little bit alarming, but they weren't healthy for a lot of that stretch. Since they've gotten healthy, they've actually played really competitively on the road. Almost won on the road at Illinois the other night in overtime. So I like Nebraska a lot. That's been my team all year that I really like. But we'll see how that plays out.
They can shoot it well. They're a good team.
Last thing, and we'll be done. Caitlin Clark, 8 points away from breaking the all-time women's scoring record. She had a shot to do it. She needed 39, I believe, to do it on Sunday, yesterday before the Super Bowl, and they actually lost the game. They were 17.5-point favorites playing at Nebraska. But interestingly enough, from a betting perspective, I bet if you faded Iowa on the road, because it's crazy, dude. I don't know. I know you probably don't watch much of her, but the crowds when she plays in a road arena are like, it's sold out, and you just don't see that in women's basketball, and Vegas hasn't adjusted for that. So, like, they're down 7. They're up 7, Iowa was, with, 3 minutes to go. It was over, and yet they're still going to cover the 17.5. All of a sudden, Nebraska goes on this crazy run that, you just never see happen in women's basketball because there's no home court advantage, but the crowd was going absolutely nuts. Caitlin Clark goes 0 in the fourth quarter, doesn't score, doesn't get the record, and actually Nebraska wins the game and beats them outright as a 17.5-point underdog. Really, really interesting from that perspective. But also, if you want to see history, I would tune in to Caitlin Clark playing. I can't remember when they play their next game. I believe it's Tuesday. But she needs 8 points, which there's a 99.99.
Get that.
Yeah, 99.99999% chance that will happen in her next game. They take on Michigan on Wednesday. I'm sorry, on Thursday. Michigan at home on Thursday. So she will break the record in that game. I don't know if she comes back, she'll have a chance to break Pistol Pete's all-time scoring record for all genders, which
that's not a record, Dylan.
Why?
Don't talk about Pistol Pete's record.
Why?
Right? Caitlin Clark does not count against Pistol Pete.
No, I agree.
I'm just kidding.
I agree though. He did it without. Didn't he do it without a 3-point line? Yeah, did it without a 3-point line in 4 years. She would do it in 6 with a 3-point line. Not even. I
know. I remember when it was crazy that guy. I don't know if he got. Wasn't there a record that the kid break Pistol Pete's record or get close to There's a kid from Detroit Mercy that was there for 7 years and would score 30 points a game.
Oh, yeah, no, he didn't break it.
Yeah, he did, but he was close,
He was
right?
1 point away or something.
Yes, and I was like, oh, my God, please. No, it was going to be what it was. He was a few more points than that away. It wasn't just one, but it was close. You're right. But what happened was they were trying to get a bid into some shitty CBI or something so he could break it. None of the tournaments gave him a bid.
Yeah. I'm glad they didn't.
You're not going to break this. Yeah,
I'm glad they didn't.
This kid was on
he didn't
a
deserve
shitty
it.
Detroit
and
team.
he was tweeting about it all pissed off. I can't believe they did me like that. Nah, bro.
And they were horrible.
They were horrible.
They shouldn't have gotten into a tournament, but they were are they going to put him in so he break the record? I'm like, not to mention, it's so stupid because, Pistol Pete did it in 4 years.
Dude, I'm sorry. He did it in 3 years. I just looked it up.
Whatever.
He averaged I said the same thing.
That's crazy, yeah.
3 years, 44.2 points per game. 44.2 without a 3-point line. He played 83 games in 3 seasons and scored over almost 4,000 points.
Sounds like big dog stats when you say that. We'll have to ask him when you in there.
Oh, yeah, of course. Big Dog says he averaged 26 a game in high school without a 3-point line. In 8th grade, 7th grade.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
He claims that he claims in Church League they had the 3-point line before the NBA.
Yes, I do remember that.
In Church League they had the 3-point line before the NBA.
Yep, that's funny. We'll have to bring that up to him.
All right, we'll wrap it up there. We had that was our 20th episode. Make sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And we are going to have hopefully some new guests on soon. We'll be talking NBA and college basketball next week. Unfortunately, the depression will set in as football is over for all of us.
At least we got the basketball tournament coming up.
We got NCAA tournament coming up.
Once that's over, that's when
it really hits, right? Then we got we got to get through June with the playoffs, NBA playoffs, and then we got that 2 months of just nothing. So, but we will be back next week, midweek, with the basketball show, and we'll talk a little bit of men's college basketball, NBA, and whatever other sports are going on. But thanks for tuning in. Hope you guys enjoy, and we will see you next time.
Oh, big dog.